And what you're going to do is just hold on to the stator with your glove or your rag and start tapping the outer part of the aluminum housing. And the best way to do it is start on one ear and then rotate the hammer, tapping back and forth on the other ear. You can also put the aluminum housing in a vise and tighten down the vise slightly so that the stator winding is coming out the bottom, and then use a long center punch to put into the side of it, and then tap with a hammer the top of the punch to get it started and just work it around. You have to kind of tap on one side and then tap 180 degrees away from that on the other side, and the best results is to just slowly work its way out. Once you get the stator out, which just takes a little bit of patience, you'll notice there's probably some corrosion on the inside ring in this area right here. You want to take a piece of sandpaper and sand out as much as you can just to get rid of it. Then let it cool down a little bit so you can go ahead and get the bearing out if you haven't taken it out already. And what we'd recommend doing is putting it back in the oven again to heat it up to the full temperature that you did before, which was 350 to 400 for 15 to 20 minutes. And drop the new bearing in there, and also drop the new stator winding in there at the same time. So while you're waiting on that to heat back up again, the front plate, get your new stator ready by finding the center tap, the one with the most wires going to it, and set it, arrange it so that the lead is at a 90 degree angle to the ferrous part of the stator. It's going straight up and down, in other words. Now what we have to bear in mind when doing these amperage upgrades is the designer, the engineers, the manufacturer never really intended for this heavy duty of a stator winding to go inside that fitting. So we have to be meticulously careful at this point to prepare the windings to fit down inside there. We can't have them rubbing on the inside anywhere, and we have to be very, very extremely careful that these wires, these 4 leads, as they come up through the rear housing, cannot touch anywhere. So they have to be up through and away from the housings, and also not touching anywhere, so that it will not rub. So we take a ball peen hammer and go around the inside and just make sure that everything is pushed away so that the fins on the rotor will not rub anywhere on both ends. Also, we can go on the outside diameter and make sure that everything is perfectly formed so that it's away from anything on the outside diameter that could touch it. Also, another thing you might want to do, if you have any shrink tube, you can put some shrink tubing on these leads, not clear up to the top, but just on the copper area. Also, you could use, if you use high quality black tape, you can put a layer of black, just a thin layer of black tape around these, just to give you some extra protection. But if you do use black tape, don't use the cheap black tape because it will not work. It has to be a 3M product, a Scotch product like Super 88 or 88T. Here you can see where we put about 2 revolutions of black tape on the copper lead, and also put a piece of black tape down on the side so that when you have pressure on here by bolting up the rectifier, if something goes to flare out a little bit, it would stay away, insulated from the aluminum. Okay, so we just got this right out of the oven. The bearing will pretty much fall in, and the same thing with the stator. Lined it up, and there's your line, and it'll pretty much just fall right in.